on a flat piece of land from what was the old Williamson High School where I went to school. The old Williamson High School was just about centered where the picture's showing right now. That building has since been torn down. This is another view of the apartment that I lived in as a child. Right there is where I got hit in the head with a rake. This is the First Baptist Church where I went to church as a child. This is looking down Fifth Avenue. My mother lives right down here, about a block and a half on Fifth Avenue. This is my brother's law office on 4th Avenue in Williamson. This is looking on up 4th Avenue from Robert's law office. And this is looking back down in the other direction, 4th Avenue from Robert's law office. You've really got a nice office here, Robert.
Well, thank you. Very well pleased with it.
Really proud of you. You're doing a great job here. All of these files and all this work that you've got to take care of.
Get caught up here soon.
This is a view of Williamson proper. That is the area where the Williamson Memorial Hospital is located. We're panning over the valley in which Williamson is situated, a very flood-prone valley. This is a new highway they've constructed bypassing Williamson going on to Pikeville, Kentucky. We're now looking at South Williamson, Kentucky, where there used to be a large Kroger grocery store that was torn down. South Williamson is where I lived from about the 3rd grade through the 9th grade or so. This road goes on into West Williamson. The top of the mountain that we're looking at right now is where they buried 3 bank robbers that were killed in a robbery in Maywood. What's called the Fairview Cemetery, which is in what's called West Williamson. This is just a panoramic view of a portion of what's known as West Williamson. We're coming up on the gravestone of my grandparents, Minnie and Dr. Charles Carlton. Dr. Carlton was a well-known veterinarian here in the Williamson, Mingo County and Pike County area. This is where I lived when we moved from Williamson to South Williamson, Kentucky. Mom's the one that constructed the lattice work on the front of the house there. You can see that it wasn't much to look at. Our elevated porch was somewhat nice. Right up here at the corner is where the steps were that led up to the porch. That was where a large black snake was laying on a table one time when I went across the porch to go down the steps. Right next door to us lived Pauline Girardi and her family. They were very nice people. Had a lot of fun playing in this area as a child. These were where the Cornelia Roach lived. Right here is the home of Donnie Stanley, one of my best friends. And I lived here. Right over here is where Larry Correa lived, another one of my friends. This used to be King's Restaurant, that red building in the distance, where we had a lot of fun going and getting hot dogs and soft drinks and custards and things. View of Williamson proper. Here we're looking down 119 going towards Belfry, Kentucky. They've done a lot of recent construction there. Now we're moving over into Williamson, West Virginia. I'm standing on a hill over in South Williamson, Kentucky right now. On the hill where we're looking now is the Seventh-day Adventist Church, located right there. They have a nice spot overlooking the town of Williamson, as you can see. That road right in front of that bridge going up the hill in front of the church there is the hill going to East Williamson towards Cinderella, where Ethel and Tandy Bartley lived. This is the town of Williamson that we're looking at now. There's the Mountaineer Hotel, for example, and in the distance behind it is the new retirement home that they've constructed for the retirees in the area. This is quite a nice view of the town of Williamson. Here's the post office right in downtown Williamson. Obscured by the Mountaineer Hotel building there is a Sears store where Jim Blackburn lives. That's Libby's husband. My mother lives off in the distance, pretty much right behind that large building that you see there. She lives on Fifth Avenue. Quite a good view of Williamson. Mountains are lovely at this time of year. I'll hike farther up the hill to get a better view. This is what's called West Williamson. This is the new 119 bypass road coming from West Williamson down towards Belfry, Kentucky, into South Williamson. If my camera starts shaking, it's because I'm pretty high here and it's kind of scary to be this close to the edge. This is Williamson that we were looking at just a moment ago. Here we're taking a very slow pan of Williamson again. distance, on up that hill that you see the cars going up, is East Williamson. There's the railroad yards. My father worked in the railroad yards all his life in Williamson, except when he was cut off and finally had to move to Roanoke to go to work. This is some of the newer shopping area in South Williamson. This bridge crosses what's known as the infamous Tug River. It's the one that floods every few years and completely inundated the town of Williamson in 1977. The Corps of Engineers is in the process of building a flood wall to protect the town. This is the top of the hill here that I'm standing on. This is where they had buried 3 bank robbers that were killed. This is the South Williamson Grade School, where I went to school from the 3rd grade through the 6th grade. We spent a lot of time playing in the playground behind the school here. Some of the best years of my life were spent in the South Williamson Grade School. After the 6th grade, I transferred over to Williamson Junior High School in West Virginia. My sister Carol's house in South Williamson, Kentucky. It's just about a block down from South Williamson Grade School. I just showed you. This is the main road in South Williamson, and it's heading towards the Appalachian Regional Hospital that we'll be getting a picture of in just a few moments. Carol just bought this house about 6 months ago. Got a very good deal on it. Unfortunately, in the 77 flood, the water was up to about the ceiling in the house. Carol says that hopefully they'll have a flood wall constructed by 1995 to prevent further flood. Now is called the Appalachian Regional Hospital. This is located in South Williamson, Kentucky, and this is where Richard was born almost 19 years ago. When he was born, I was in Korea at the time and wasn't made aware of his birth until a day or two after he was actually born. Judy had quite a time of it and eventually wound up having a cesarean section here in the hospital. These Appalachian Regional Hospitals were also referred to as miners' hospitals because they primarily served the miners in the area. Now we've just left the Appalachian Regional Hospital, and just down the road towards South Williamson is where I'm standing to take these pictures. Of course, we're on the Kentucky side now, looking over into West Virginia. The building we see now is the Southern West Virginia Community College, the Williamson campus. This is where my sister Carol works as a librarian. This is the back view of the community college. In the foreground, you can see the work that they've done on the riverbank in preparation for constructing a flood wall here in Williamson. We're looking at what's called West Williamson. In the distance here is the Fairview Cemetery where I was standing earlier and where I took the pictures of the gravestones of my grandmother and grandfather Carlton. That's where they were located, in West Williamson. Over here is the Williamson swimming pool, Olympic size pool. Very nice place for the kids in Williamson to recreate. And there again is just some more of the preparatory work. This is again the Tug River that floods so badly in this area. I don't know whether you can hear the music in the distance coming from the swimming pool or not. The Adventist Church in Williamson. If you remember, a moment ago we looked at it from a distance on top of a hill. Now going to be panning around, seeing some of Williamson from this side of town. Here we're looking towards the main part of Williamson, towards the business district. Here in the distance is that road bridge running from West End towards Belfry. We looked at a moment ago. There again is the Mountaineer Hotel from a different direction. Right over here in the distance is the little mountaintop I was standing on a moment ago when I took the other pictures. There's the flagpole. Of that panorama that we were looking at just a minute ago. I've walked up the driveway to the church a little bit more. Here's a picture of Tug River that they're trying to protect the city of Williamson from its flooding. That's the bridge leading from Williamson over into South Williamson, Kentucky. There's a little shopping center there containing the food city, shopping, a grocery store. This is the grave of my mother's grandfather, Edward Oglesby. And Mom, tell us a little bit about him and who's buried here.
I never remember my first grandmother. He married Lilla later in life. He was blind most of his life. And her name was Lilla Bond.
B-O-N-D.
She was buried in Georgia. She lived to be around 90 years old.
So Lillias Bond's not really buried here.
Lilla.
Lilla.
Pronounced Lilla. Lilla Bond's not there. Just
She
my
died in late
grandfather.
70s.
I don't remember. She's been dead many years. He's doing that on purpose because I've got my
You told her
curlers.
that you were not going to take any pictures.
That's
She has
okay,
her hair
Mom.
in rollers.
Don't worry
Well,
about
let
it.
me tell you my recollection of great-grandfather Oglesby. They lived in Victoria Courts, and he was blind, and they would always have him sitting in bed, and he always wore a white dress shirt, starched really starchy, you know.
Uh-huh.
And I was just a little girl, of course, but when they'd take me to visit him, I guess I was Amanda's age, he'd always have a nickel in his pocket. And that was the first thing that set me on his lap, and I, looked at that nickel. That's my biggest recollection. And when he died, he was the first person that I remember, close to me dying. It really upset me.
He died 2 weeks before you were born, Richard.
Where was he from, Mom?
He was from Georgia. See, Mother and Daddy both were from Georgia. They got married and after the war moved here.
See, Granny just had the two brothers, Stanley and
DeWitt.
DeWitt. And Uncle DeWitt and his wife never had any children. And Uncle Stanley and his wife, Lexi, who was down at Crime, they just had one child, Joy.
She died last year of cancer.
And she had two daughters, didn't she, Mama?
Yeah.
So, you know, Granny's brothers just, there's
Has
not...
one living now in a nursing home in Greensboro.
Uncle Stanley's in a nursing home.
Winston-Salem.
And great grandfather Oglesby is just buried right down from
Grandfather Carlton.
Grandfather Carlton.
And his wife, of course, our grandmother, her name